This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, September 26, 2024. Born on this date in 1899, composer William L. Dawson of Anniston. In 1917, jazz trumpet player Nelson Cadillac Williams of Montgomery. And in 1932, astronaut Clifton Williams of Mobile. Today, will we or won't we move on this Glock switch ban? Also, Birmingham Southern has a buyer, a mayor who's not running for re-election, and Trump's very unbillionaire-like food order for Saturday's ballgame. And today's guest, Joe Crow, is going to tell us all about Alabama Comic Con and the local rasslin scene. And who knows what else might come up. My name's Ike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama. A Democrat's bill to ban so-called Glock switches on the state level may see growing support among Republicans during the next legislative session, according to an AL.com report. Now, a Glock switch is a device that allows a semi-automatic pistol to perform like a fully automatic weapon, with a machine gun spray of rounds being fired with a single trigger pull. At least one was used in last weekend's Birmingham mass shooting that killed 4 people and wounded 17 others. The bill is being sponsored by Alabama State Representative Philip Ensler, a Montgomery Democrat, for the third time. Now, earlier this year, it passed the House of Representatives, but never got a vote on the Senate. Next year, odds seem pretty good for the bill once again in the House. Key Republicans with law enforcement backgrounds have signed on as co-sponsors. Over in the Senate, Rules Committee Chair Jabbo Wagner of Astavia Hills Republican said he's ready to support a ban. 8 Republicans had confirmed to AL.com that they're behind it. Some are more hesitant. Senator Chris Elliott, a Josephine Republican, pointed out that Glock switches are already illegal, banned by federal law. Now, supporters of the bill counter that. Currently, if an officer finds you in possession of the device, he or she has to turn the case over to the feds, who then decide whether or not they want to prosecute. With this bill, district attorneys in Alabama could go ahead and prosecute. The legislation makes possession of the device a Class C felony that can get you 1 to 10 years in prison. The former institution of higher learning, Birmingham Southern College, has a deal to sell its campus in Birmingham. The buyer, reports AL.com's Hannah Denham, is another Birmingham school, Miles College. Now, how are they paying and what are they going to ultimately do with the campus? We don't know yet, but $16.5 million will come off the top to settle a debt with Service First. The 2 campuses are only 6 miles apart. Miles said both boards of trustees voted unanimously on the deal. Mobile's longtime mayor won't seek re-election in 2025, reports AL.com's Patrick Darrington. Sandy Stimpson was first elected mayor back in 2013, the year of the Kick Six, and he's currently serving out his 3rd 4-year term. Now, during that time, thanks to some annexations, Mobile grew to become the 2nd most populous city in the state, surpassing Montgomery and Birmingham, and now it looks up only to Huntsville. Now, for a guy who has a diamonds and gold front door on his 3-floor Central Park apartment, former President Donald Trump is anything but ostentatious about his road food. He and I have that in common. You may recall when the Clemson football team visited the White House in 2019 to celebrate a national championship. Doesn't Clemson winning the national title seem more distant than that? Anyway, that visit was during a government shutdown. President Trump popped for the meal and served up McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King fare. Now, that wasn't a billionaire being cheap. It was a billionaire in his culinary wheelhouse. AL.com's Carol Robinson reports that during Trump's visit to this Saturday's Alabama-Georgia game at Bryant-Denny Stadium, he put in the food request for himself and his guests. And on the order, were 2 McDonald's Filet-O-Fish sandwiches with cheese, stadium hot dogs, Domino's pizza, and Diet Coke. He ought to ditch Mar-a-Lago and move to Dothan. The access to fast food on Ross Clark Circle blows away all that Palm Beach frou-frou dining. Now, U.S. Senators Katie Britt and Tommy Tuberville, incidentally, are supposed to join the GOP presidential nominee at the ballgame. Hey, let's take a quick break. Today's guest is Joe Crow, a Comic Con insider who's going to tell us about this weekend's Alabama Comic Con and Comic Cons in general if you don't know anything about them. So you'll still want to stick around. Joe's also a local wrestling announcer and a really funny guy, so this ought to be fun. Y'all stay with us.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes per detail.
Hey, thanks for staying with us, everybody. Now, this weekend in Alabama, the Alabama Comic Con will set up shop at the BJCC's East Exhibit Hall and feature all kinds of fantasy and sci-fi and wrestling, celebrities and games and panels, all that good stuff. Here on the show today, we're bringing on a first-time guest who's a veteran panelist of Comic Con, so he can tell us more about the phenomenon in general and this week's event specifically. Joe Crow, welcome to Down in Alabama.
Hey. Just keep talking about convention stuff, and I'll come on every week. It'll be fun.
We can have convention Thursdays.
Yeah, I've been I've done this for a zillion years, and I think it just started from need for attention. I don't. But I just volunteered at one of the sci-fi conventions many years ago, and apparently people enjoy hearing me talk. And I say that not braggadociously, but what I mean is super braggadociously, because apparently I'm pretty good. I don't know.
Well, see, I've always thought you're probably the funniest guy I've known to come out of Clanton, with the number 2 probably being that come at you like a spider monkey kid from Talladega Nights.
Yeah, you are correct. He is way up here, and I'm somewhere down here. You are correct. I hope that kid is okay. I don't know, but Clanton, Alabama is not exactly a hotbed for the nerd community, you can imagine. And so once I started working in the Birmingham's area, and conventions like the one that's coming this Saturday started popping up, I started doing stuff. And like right before I worked at the Birmingham News, I worked for a website company in like the beginning of this century. And like all website companies in the beginning of the century, it went kablooey almost immediately. But that was kind of how I weaseled my way into doing sci-fi convention stuff. And since then, now I work regularly at, there's a big one in Atlanta every year, and I just got back from that one. And I'm the track director for one of those things. Like I create the panels and I host the Q&As with the guests and that kind of thing. So it's once again, what I've done is I've turned something fun into work.
Instead of the other way around. You could see it either way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're working this weekend, Birmingham, work, fun, whichever. Are you working a specific panel, or what's your job at the Alabama Comic Con?
I am kind of the break glass in case of emergency guy. If somebody needs a panel hosted, needs somebody to host a Q&A, or I'm just going to kind of be roaming about. Like, I think there's two big, maybe two big kinds of conventions. One of them is like your Dragon Cons, and like I believe in Alabama, we've had a few like Magic City Con. Those have panel discussions and Q&As. Alabama Comic Con is more of an autograph show.
Okay.
I mean, more so. There are tons of things to do, but the autograph stuff with the cool celebrities is, I think, the bigger part of Alabama Comic Con. So I'm going to be swooping through and maybe meeting celebrities and hopefully becoming their best friend. I think that's what I'm planning on doing.
Well, it takes a wide knowledge on a wide variety of topics to do that. That's what it sounds like. Which is great having a newspaper background because you've read on everything. A question I have Comic Cons always been as diverse as they are with respect to like the guests? I mean, I once thought of them as like hardcore sci-fi. You think of Star Trek, but now, I mean, wrestling's a big part of it, all kind of cosplay.
Yeah.
Talk a little about the evolution of the Comic Cons that you've been a part of. And am I right? Have they gotten more?
No, you're 100%. Back in the olden times, Google it, kids. Back in the old days, conventions started. Okay, back in the old days, conventions started because of Star Trek.
Okay.
The first conventions were gatherings of people who loved Star Trek and were mad that it got canceled. And that was in the 60s. And
wow.
it expanded from there. I would say until probably the 90s, most conventions, though, were pretty small. And except for the big ones, like the big one, Comic Con in San Diego,
Mm-hmm.
where like Hollywood productions come to advertise. But over the years, it got to be less about just one show and more about the fandom and more about tons of shows. And then it got to be like with the advent of Star Wars and other superhero movies and sci-fi stuff, because of Star Wars, they got to be so big or so much bigger than that. Hollywood people said, "Ooh, we could make some money there." So they started advertising their movies and TV shows at the conventions. And then the actors started coming and doing autograph stuff. So it was just kind of a cycle. And it has spiraled. It has, and then as you pointed out, the cosplayers, has gotten progressively larger. And that is one of the, I think it's unique to sci-fi convention, or I think I still call them sci-fi conventions. They're
Mm-hmm.
really, they cover everything now.
Yeah.
Even shows that aren't sci-fi related have panels and discussions and guests, like detective shows, that kind of thing. And the Venn diagram of where all these things kind of work together, it's all the same. It's all part and parcel of each other. And again, like you said, like you mentioned, there is a subset of sci-fi TV and movie fans who also like pro wrestling, and
Right.
and that, I think I'm right in there. And so, and in fact, there's a lot of wrestlers that are coming to Alabama Comic Con this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not a huge pop culture knowledge guy.
I think that's the only knowledge I have.
Well, I was going to say, but I recognize Ron Simmons right off the bat when I look at the list of people coming.
Oh
Right?
my gosh. No, I am super excited to meet those guys. Let's see, obviously you can go to the Alabama Comic Con website and find out who all's here, but I know for sure, like back in the '90s, during like the wrestling's big peak era, Ron Simmons and some of the guys that are here this weekend were the Nation of Domination in the WWE. Like Ron Simmons, the Godfather. Let's see. Oh, D'Lo Brown is coming. It's just a smattering. These guys started the career of The Rock, who everybody knows now.
Oh yeah.
He was a rookie, and they brought him into their little group, and hijinks ensued.
They walked so he could run.
Yeah, exactly. But the meeting wrestlers is an interesting thing because, like I said, there's a Venn diagram. The stories these guys have. For a while there, like with the older wrestlers, whenever I would meet one or host a Q&A, I would ask them about Andre the Giant. And just out of the blue, and every single person had an Andre the Giant story. So I had this collection in my brain of all these things, all these places they had met Andre the Giant. And gosh, clearing out restaurants because he wanted to have everything on the menu. I think Hulk Hogan bought him like a case of beer for a bus ride for the whole wrestling crew, and Andre drank it all before the bus ride was over. So there's things. There's just honestly, if you go and meet these guys, get them talking, and you're going to have just a great few minutes just hearing stuff from those guys.
Yeah, no doubt. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen at a convention?
Oh gosh, how many hours do we have?
It's hard to rank them.
The first one that gosh, okay, I was almost run over by Captain Kirk.
Not a big guy though, right?
A couple of years ago, at Dragon Con, he was a guest. I was turning the corner coming out of my little Q&A room, and Captain Kirk on a scooter zoomed around the corner like he was in Cannonball Run and almost took me out and then kept on going. And I didn't know who it was. And then I looked back and they were like, that was Shatner. That was William. So now I've almost been, vehicularly homicided by a Starfleet admiral. So
a motorized scooter or one of the ones you got to
yes, motorized scooter.
Oh my goodness. Captain Kirk. Did he sit on it like he would in his captain's chair?
Oh yeah. He was he was not in regulation Starfleet uniform, which is outrageous, but and ridiculous. But no, much like the captain's prerogative, he didn't say anything to me. He just like and destruction in his wake. I don't know. That was fun. One time I saw a guy, there was a costume contest, and Catwoman, a lady in a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman costume, was doing her thing, and a guy came up on stage. You find out they actually are. It was her boyfriend. He was dressed as a Jedi, from Star Wars.
Right.
And you might think, if it's Catwoman, maybe you dress as Batman to propose.
Yeah, you want to match up, right?
He did not. He dressed as a Jedi, and the audience booed him. Not this happy, sweet moment. I want to pledge my life to you. Let's live together forever and be happy. And the audience was going, boo! Put on a Batman suit. It was amazing.
How can you make that mistake at such a pivotal moment?
It's not like, but yeah, it ain't like Batman costumes are hard to get.
The earliest recollection I have of Halloween's, everybody was Batman. All the kids in our plastic Halloween outfits, right? With the little the
Yeah.
little plastic rubber band mask. Everybody was Batman.
And everybody was Batman, but instead of like my Batman costume didn't have like just the Batman symbol on it.
Hmm.
It just had like the word Batman. And I'm like, I want to pretend to be Batman. I don't want to just be a kid in a Batman suit.
It was there for all the readers whose doors you knocked on.
Yeah. All the readers in the dark on Halloween night. Oh, clearly that kid is Batman.
Who are you, kid? Well, just read my costume. It
You
explains
just
it.
read the shirt.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, we touched on wrestling already. Let's talk just a little more. And first of all, for our New Jersey audience, you have to listen closely here. We still have a slightly different pronunciation for wrestling, which you do in high school, and wrestling, which comes on TV. And don't get between your grandma and the set when it's on. Joe,
No.
tell me about you and the local wrestling scene.
It is, well, in fact, it's because of the Birmingham News that I got involved.
Okay.
I wrote, obviously, I don't know why I'm asking you if you remember. You were, but we did City Scene every weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, people
a
remember
wrestling
that.
show came to Boutwell Auditorium,
Mhm.
and I said, ooh, I want to do a story. And so I went and interviewed the lady in charge, the promotion, the wrestlers that night, and she said, as we're talking, for this next weekend, I need an announcer for my next show. And I said, I can do that. And I had done it like once years earlier, like for some other promotion, like up in Georgia. And I said, ooh, I can do it. And now I do it almost every weekend. And that's where it started. That's where it started because of me writing the story in the City Scene. And now I do shows at there's a federation in Gadsden called Spartan Pro Wrestling,
Okay.
and a federation in Warrior called Game Time Wrestling. And I'm the announcer at both of those, and that's my weekend, most weekends.
So you're like a blue collar Michael Buffer.
Let's say that. Yes, I like it. But I can't say his catchphrase because he will sue you.
No, he can be litigious about that. That's a big time deal he's got going. He gets like $1 billion for saying it or something like that.
I hope so. I mean, in fact, I saw him say it like at the Rose Bowl or something similar. Like he was, like I just was flipping through TV. Well, there's Michael Buffer, and he did the whole shebang. The whole I guess I can't say it even on. I don't want to get sued by Michael Buffer, although that story would be pretty cool.
It rhymes with it's hard to be humble.
Yes. If you think if you like pro wrestling and you think you might want to try like a local independent show, chances are there's one near you anywhere you are. There are little federations all over the country, not just Alabama, but they're everywhere. And it's just a unique scene. It's watching it on TV and, going to the BJCC and watching the big leagues is great. But seeing it at the basic level and just seeing where these guys start out at and just the energy of we've all been like in stadiums, like in football games where the energy is so huge. Imagine that squeezed into a National Guard armory
Right.
or a high school gym. And that's what local pro wrestling is.
Yeah, we all remember stories of the Piggly Wiggly parking lot days of pro wrestling shows showing up.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't lucked out enough in my wrestling announcing career to do anything in a Piggly Wiggly parking lot, but someday I'm still hoping. That's really what I'm going for. I keep doing this stuff thinking someday the Piggly Wiggly parking lot's going to call.
Now, these wrestling organizations in Warrior and Gas and some of these others, would you call them family friendly, or are they the old fashioned juice fests, or what goes on there?
Most of them are. Most of them are totally family friendly. I
Uh-huh.
would, nobody is slashing each other with razor blades and such
Mm-hmm.
in front of children in the front row. There are shows that do that, but they clearly advertise it. Like
Okay.
if a show's name is Carnage something, then
That's a good rule of
then
thumb.
somebody's going to get a fluorescent light tube smashed across their face, or a and I know that having announced a couple of those shows, but
Oh, wow. Okay.
but if the word Carnage isn't in the title anywhere,
You're
you're
probably okay.
probably pretty safe because yelling at children is something wrestlers love doing. I just saw it last Friday. These three sweet little girls were in the front row just pointing and screaming, and the bad guy wrestlers were just so mad, and it was so great. They were just getting after the little kids, and the audience was into it. They're like, "How dare you yell at little children?" And it's a hoot. But yeah, it's local wrestling shows are good for, I say, for kids of all ages,
Mhm.
because old ladies get into it too.
Mhm.
Bring your grandma, bring your
Oh, yeah.
kids. It's a blast.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to get into it. I mean, we all understand two guys fighting each other, right? It's
Yeah,
simpler than soccer, football, any of it.
it really is.
Not as simple when you're in the ring, I guess.
No, 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 no. Escaping the ring after the match starts is a skill that I have not yet mastered.
Oh, I saw you.
One time I was, oh, go ahead.
I saw you on the let's see, the Game Time Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
The first episode you had a wardrobe malfunction. I wanted to call you out on that.
I my shirt underneath the blazer. I had my tie perfect, my blazer perfect ish, and my button up shirt was buttoned incorrectly. It was the chunk of it at the bottom was dangling free as the breeze, and it was just buttoned badly, just awful. And I didn't know it until the show was over and I saw it on YouTube. And and when my wife and my daughter looked at it, they were like, your shirt's like first thing they said. And I'm like, so nobody noticed it. And then backstage, the wrestlers went, oh yeah, we all noticed it. So
It's somehow perfect for the blue collar Michael Buffer to walk around
100%.
with the audience wondering how does one put on a tie and not notice that their shirt's buttoned wrong.
Exactly. But that tie is on pretty well. But why is his shirt?
Well, I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I just wanted to get back to the Comic Con. Is there one other question? Is there a must see guest on your list? You say you're looking forward to meeting some of these folks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Foxy Brown is there also.
Oh yeah, Pam Grier. I have never met Fred the Hammer Williamson and Pam Grier, icons
Mm-hmm.
from 70s movies. Foxy Brown, and of course she was in Jackie Brown for Quentin Tarantino years later. But Fred the Hammer Williamson is like one of the coolest dudes I've ever seen in movies. Like he just looks like he's just playing himself. Like he's just
what
like,
the great
I'm going
ones
to punch
do.
you in the face right now. So I'm anxious to see, and of course the wrestling crew. Booker T is. Let me see if there's any non-wrestlers that I want you guys. Oh gosh, Mark Henry from the World's Strongest Man.
Okay, yeah.
Now, one cool thing about conventions, autograph conventions, and conventions in general, if you're into, and of course, lots of people are anime fans. The voices of all your favorite animes, they are always at conventions. They are that's a good place to find and meet and get autographs for all your anime people.
Yeah, it's always cool to see a face you're used to the sound. I know people come on this show occasionally and they're so disappointed.
Yeah. Like, oh, but you sounded so. Yeah. Carl from The Walking Dead is going to be there.
That's perfect. Yeah.
So I hope he's wearing the hat. I think several people from The Walking Dead are coming, and Michael Cudlitz, who is he's Lex Luthor now in a Superman TV show, but he's been on a zillion things. A lot of video game voices too, in addition to anime stuff. A lot of people who do video game voices are also at these conventions, and they are so good about, like they'll I mean, most of the time, you pay them, but they'll do a message for you with the voice. It's
neat. Okay.
There's a major Diary of a Wimpy Kid representation this weekend.
Who knew?
Like the actors from that first chunk of movies based on that book that everybody read, and by everybody I mean everybody my daughter's age. I read them too. Who am I kidding? But all those guys are going to be there. Those movies. In fact, I think I think one of my Clanton cohorts, Grayson Russell, that we were talking, I think he's coming.
Oh, he's actually going to be there. Come at you like a spider monkey.
He's totally going to do it. All right. Well, now I have to go.
Yeah, and you can't call in sick.
No, he is. Well, he was in. I remembered that he was in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and this now reminds me. So he's coming as a Wimpy Kid reunion package, I think.
Okay, all right, very good.
Yeah, a lot of animation voices, like the voice of Superman, the voice of Spider-Man from the 80s, I believe. So yeah, there's a megaton of people coming, and walking into the autograph area, when you see people that you've seen on television and in movies for a zillion years, when that happens, it's something comes over you, and it's like all of a sudden you're whatever age you were when you enjoyed that thing. When Spider-Man was your favorite cartoon, seeing that guy, it all, your whole perspective changes. It's a blast. All
right. Joe Crow, I so appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us about Alabama Comic Con and rasslin and Walking Dead people and the Diary of a Wimpy Kid / Come at you like a spider monkey kid.
Talked a lot more about Diary of a Wimpy Kid than I expected.
You got to go where the conversation takes you. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been too long. I'm glad to see you again after all these years. I hope y'all have a great time this weekend.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a blast.
Great, and thanks everybody out there for listening to us. We are going to be back here bright and early in the morning. Until then, y'all come on by and see what we're doing on the internet at al.com.